Hi, welcome back to the show, everyone. In this week's episode, we have CEO and co-founder of mign, Lisa Tweardy. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vijay. Thanks for having me. Congrats on your show.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I was checking out the website, and it seems incredible what mign is doing, and I'd love to hear more about it and share with the audience what mign is, what you do with the company, and we'd just love to hear your story.
Thanks for asking. Mign is orthopedics digitally tailored. We're the only company that's able to crack the code on personalization of orthopedic and sports medicine bracing at scale. We synthesize complex body data into a mign medical wearable that's patient-centric, sustainable, and personal. And we raise the patient experience by looking at prescription fit and outcomes. Mign eliminates care silos and inventory and reduces clinical service time by up to 75%, delivering a bespoke design in 3 days versus 4 weeks with traditional methods. And we do this by a fully digital process.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Now, what does that mean for everyone who's not in the industry who has no idea what any of that meant?
So currently, sports medicine and orthopedic bracing is made via traditional methods. Comes in on containers generally from China and Mexico, in a lot of inventory, complex supply chain that's involved, bringing these products to all the places where they have to be distributed. That means that traditional cut and sew methods build a bunch of inventory overseas. It's brought in on containers in all the different sizes to all the places where they have to go. The other way of doing this is with an orthotist and prosthetist who use traditional custom methods. They will take sheets of plastic and mold those to a patient's body. It's a very labor-intense process. There's a lot of overhead, a lot of waste, and those techniques for both the off-the-shelf as well as the custom devices have been around for literally decades, not centuries. So those have been around for forever. What mign has seen with the advent of digital technology is that we have the ability to take those laborious processes and make it fully digital. We take a body scan for a patient, we take their x-rays and their clinical information, and then we digitally correct the anatomy the way Invisalign does to your teeth when they take a scan of your teeth to make your braces. We do that for your body and then use the patient information and the patient input to build a custom device that's specific to their individual needs. We use 3D printing to do that.
Okay, so you're basically saying that your product is like Invisalign, but except for the body.
For your body, yeah.
So what are you exactly correcting? Because as someone who doesn't have a background in this industry, I know Invisalign, it's with your teeth, but what parts of the body are you attempting to correct?
We started with spine because that gave us a period of time to manage the corrections before the patient needed the device back. So looking specifically at a deformity like scoliosis for pediatric patients, children, we can design a device that will help correct the curvature and align the spine, and they can wear that instead of getting surgery if their indication permits.
Okay, great. So this is something that you wear throughout the day while you sleep, or is it just a few hours on, a few hours off?
It depends on the indication, but if you have adolescent scoliosis, for example, you may be wearing a device for up to 22 hours a day. If you have a different indication, adult scoliosis or post-op, you may only be wearing it at certain times when it's needed, when you're doing activities or when there's risk of injury for protection. But it depends on what your indication is, and we can design a device that will work for any of those.
Got it. So what else is in the market to address scoliosis and other illnesses this product seeks to solve, just as someone, again, who doesn't understand this industry?
Well, as I mentioned, these devices have been around for centuries. So orthopedic devices for bracing have been applied since, for time and infinitum. However, Devices that manage curve correction like scoliosis are traditionally made in orthotic workshops. And there they can take a body scan or they can take measurements and they craft it out of sheets of plastic using heat guns, scissors, different traditional methods, which are fine. Those work and they've worked for a long time. Mine saw the opportunity to use new technologies to make a better customer experience, a better patient experience. So the doctor can capture the scan right when the patient's in the clinic. We can do the design and build the device with the corrections built into it, less siloed care where they're not going to multiple visits for multiple providers. They can just go to their doctor. We can do the design. We can also fit it, or they can get it fit back at their doctor's office and, continue to wear it as needed. We can also refine that with changing panels or modular different features that allow us to use the 3D printing to our full advantage.
That's great. So it seems like a very exciting and interesting product, which has helped many lives. I'm curious about the business aspect of it. It's a great product. Let's move on to the business side of it. Are your clients doctors, or who do you specifically try to promote your product to?
Right. We started out with 3 key referring clinics. We wanted to stay really focused. So in the orthopedics, we're focused on orthopedic specialty clinics in Charlotte at Ortho Carolina, in Atlanta at Ortho Georgia, and in New York at Mount Sinai Spine Center. And we work with specific physicians and their teams who refer the patients to us. And so Ortho Georgia has a scanner right in their clinic. They can capture the scan, send us the information along with the patient specifics, their clinical inputs, their x-rays, the doctor's recommendations, and we can use those to build a design, build a device, and give that to them to fit to the patient prior to their needing it for a surgery or for, so it's there for them post-operatively or for scoliosis, whatever the indication is. We also have a scanner here in Camp North End in Charlotte, and patients come in here and they can see the entire process. So they can come in, get it with a referral from their physician, capture their scan, and then see us, how we do the design, how we print the device, how we prepare it for them, and they can either come here to get it fit or pick it up, have it delivered to their house and fit by a telemedicine consult or to the clinic with their doctor.
That's great. So I noticed on your website that you're the co-founder along with 2 other people. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So tell me how this idea came about and how you decide to pursue it, because it's really interesting hearing co-founders' stories, and it's something that interests me.
Well, Vijay, I've been in this industry for a long time, and I personally am passionate about reducing preventable harm. That's been the common thread in my career. I grew up, as undergrad in bioengineering and worked in product design and development and did integrations of orthopedic businesses during my tenure. So I've had a chance to really see how the industry works, and part of that process get to meet a lot of great people. Uh, we, my co-founders, Frederick Meyer and Marcus Engman, and I got to know each other. We were working together at UNYQ, and we started out working in the business, this particular business, and starting to develop some of our techniques there, and moved it into mine.
That's great. How long has this business been operational, and what stage would you classify it as?
We started in November of 19, and then of course it's been a pandemic. So we've been, as I said, we were very focused on serving our core customers, and are now just starting to accelerate our growth. I would say that we are in late seed stage, hoping to move into a Series A within the next year to 18 months.
That's great. Have you always wanted to start a business, or is this something that you just saw the opportunity in the last few years and decided to pursue it?
That's a difficult question. I've always been really excited about innovation and changing the standard of care, as well as using new technologies to apply to what we're doing in orthopedics and trauma and spine in general. So that's something I've always been passionate about. And whether I was innovating inside of a company or in our own, it what really matters the most is the people that we're doing it with, and the customers and the patients. And that's really what is the most exciting thing, more so than, who owns the business. It's the impact that we can have.
You've been working on mine since November 2019, right before the pandemic, and obviously you nor I nor anyone could have predicted the pandemic happening in a few months. Is there something that you would change if you had a chance to start the business again?
I think that's a great question, Vijay. Obviously, with startups, it always takes a little bit longer. It always costs a little bit more money than you hoped. Thank goodness we have a great team, we have great customers, we have great patients. So we've been able to learn quickly and adapt quickly. And I would guess that the pandemic is really a blessing and a curse, because it gave us some additional time to focus, time that was not necessarily peaceful, because it's very stressful, not knowing things in that. But everybody's kind of gone through that. But at the same time, I'd say that I'd like to think we can use it to our advantage to have refined our tools, kept our team together through all of this, and have come through stronger. So I think that may be the case with a lot of the pandemic companies that have gone through these challenging times. I certainly hope it's the case for us, because not only our entire team, but the customers and the patients have been wonderful to stick through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important to recognize that it takes a little bit longer to start a business, especially in the startup phase, but plowing through it, because there is still that light at the end of the tunnel. And it seems like you're navigating that very well. Congratulations on that. What would be something you would 100% do again?
I would 100% start this business with the people that we have around us, with the same customers, with the business model has been working, thank goodness, and our same tech partners. So all of that I would 100% do over again. I'm very grateful for the team that we've got and the partners we have in place.
That's great. I've heard a lot of people say, I hate XYZ business because I hate dealing with this type of people. But for you, it's because of the people you love it so much. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would you say that's luck, or is it just the type of energy you attract, or how do you think you wound up with the right group of people?
Got to think about that. If I asked Marcus, who's our creative director, he'd probably say that it's our energy. If I'd have to ask if I asked Elliot, our director of R&D, he'd probably say we're just aligned in the on the mission or something like that. And I guess that's part of it. I guess both are part of it, that we are aligned in what we want to achieve, as well as just get along well as a team. And the people that are supporting this industry, that are supporting us in terms of the technology, in terms of both the technology in 3D printing, as well as the software development. Francis Batanti and the team there, Peter Wilfuhr, who's our design technologist. These guys all bring special assets to the table, and I think that that's what's really cool about mine is, where else are you going to see those kind of things all coming together to bring a personal solution to a commodity problem.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that the people are the most important asset for this business.
Yes.
In your opinion, is there something that's even more important than people, or do you think this is the most important thing when running a business?
Vijay, I've found in my career at least that it's always about the people.
That's great. I was thinking the same thing, but I mean, you've been in a few businesses. Just wanted to hear from the expert. Is there a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's just getting started in entrepreneurship but hasn't taken the leap yet?
When we're hiring, I like to forewarn people that this is not for the faint of heart. So, so I guess that would be the advice I'd give somebody else when when you're moving it. It's not for the faint of heart. It's definitely worthwhile, but don't be afraid to fail. I think that if your intentions are right and your values are aligned, then you can you can get through it. It's not easy, and they all get challenged.
What do you think the most challenging thing has been for you during this startup phase?
I think it's for me. My background is in product design and development, as well as working with the customers. I'm an operator, so I would say that the whole fundraising aspect has been the new part for me. That's not my natural comfort zone. However, I've had an opportunity to meet some really great people, get a lot of great advice, and start to figure it out. So I would say two things against being a tech company in Charlotte are our location and my learning curve for doing the fundraising. So being able to meet folks like you that are infinitely more in touch on the financial side are really interesting to me, and to see what kind of not only financial resources but strategic resources they can bring to the business too, in terms of learning how to planning our scaling, planning what resources we need, planning how to thoughtfully grow.
So, a little bit more of a personal question. How do you currently finance this business, and what is your strategies on raising that seed capital or Series A you mentioned earlier?
We started with founder money, and of course, having doing that and then going into the pandemic just meant that we ran really tight to begin with. I have, through my co-founders, have been able to tap into a network of, first we tapped into their network of interested entrepreneurs and folks, with financing background that were individually interested, and raised some money on a convertible note. We have just moved more into, through those relationships, have now moved more into some institutional partners, thank goodness, and are have a combination of some really good friend angels, as well as an institutional partner, and between those two, hopefully now we can hit our next milestones and prepare for Series A later this year, early next year.
That is so exciting. I mean, Series A, that's amazing. Congratulations on this startup process and getting there. Here's a question I ask everyone that comes on this show. What is your favorite business book and why?
Well, if I'm narrowing it down to one, because I could talk about this for a long, long time, I really enjoy thoughtful and strategic business books. That's one of my things. But if I were picking one, I'd have to say Innovators Dilemma, hands down. That Clayton Christensen was just one of those books that blew my mind when I first read it and said, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is how it works, and have been able to, keep those principles in mind as going about changing the standard of care, whichever business I'm in. But I think his work is awesome. I personally gained a lot of benefit from that, and have had an opportunity to meet him, to see, to hear a bunch of his lectures, things like that, and I just think it's great.
Wow, so you met him in person?
There's many more. Yeah, in the past, but yes, there's many more like that I could reference. But if I were to narrow it down to one, I'd lead with that.
Of course. So for those of us who haven't read the book, what is it about, very briefly?
So he looks at what is the basis for disruptive innovation versus sustaining innovations and where they both apply. And I think that's the key, is that a lot of people say they're disrupting when they really aren't understanding what a disruptive business is based upon and how it takes root and basically takes over an industry where there was none before. So I think that blue ocean strategy, obviously, Alex Osterwald and Business Model Canvas, there's a bunch of things kind of in that strategic business model space that are really pertinent.
I really admire readers like you who just have a wealth of knowledge and can just share everything that you've read to those who are seeking the knowledge. So really appreciate that. Well, Lisa, this was an incredible conversation. Where can our audience get in touch with you?
Please look for us at mign.design. That's our website. We're at Camp North End. If you want to see what we're doing, come on over. We're located between McFly and Lee and Louise. So we're on the best block in town. And you can reach me at lisa@mign.design. That's my email.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, it was great having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vijay.